All righty, All Facts Media. My name is Aaron Robinson, joined by my twin brother, Andrew Robinson. In today's episode of Coach Corner, we have UMKC assistant coach Luke McKay. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all, man. So we're going to get right into it, man. So first, we want to talk about you, man. So, let the viewers know, about your career in the coaching, what brought you to UMKC.
Oh, appreciate it. I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, which, as many people know, it's kind of a hotbed for college basketball. You've got NC State, UNC, Duke, all right there within a 30-mile radius of each other. So growing up around that kind of helped start my love and passion for the game. I mean, every day on the news, every day in the newspaper, something was written or talked about with college basketball. And when you're around that every day, I think you just kind of throw yourself into it. I'd go to camps all summer, every summer, just try to get better. Had a goal in the driveway, tried to work on my game the best I could. And when I got to high school, reality kind of hit me, and I figured out that I wasn't as good a player as I probably thought I was. But I knew I wanted to stay around the game. So thought a lot about coaching and what that entailed, and, figured out a way that I could try and break into business. So a program down the road, a really good mid-major program, UNC Wilmington, was kind of on the rise a little bit. They had made the tournament several different times and kind of caught my eye as a place to go to school anyway, aside from the basketball. So 2002, I'm getting ready to start my senior year of high school, and just emailed one of the assistant coaches out of the blue, like, hey, how do you guys go about getting student workers and that process? So just tried to be, upfront about it, what I was trying to do, and had some dialogue back and forth with assistant coach at the time, Marty McGillen, who's now an assistant coach at Longwood University there in Virginia. And we just kind of went back and forth, got to know him. And I think he finally figured out, like, hey, this kid really wants to do this. I'm not sure why, but might as well try to get some free labor out of him if he's willing. So I did whatever those guys needed me to do, stuff envelopes, airport runs, mop the floor, laundry, all the little different stuff to just be around it, to have the opportunity to be around it. And through that, was fortunate to develop a really good relationship with Coach Brownell, one of my closest mentors and friends in this business. And just really from there, it kind of grew. So I was a manager there for 3 years. After my junior year, Coach Brownell actually had some other opportunities and left to take the head job at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, and kind of took the whole staff with him. So I was fortunate that I had another manager buddy who was now a high school coach in the Wilmington area, said, hey, why don't you come help me your senior year? He had an opening spot for a varsity assistant at a local private high school. So kind of jumped at that. It was an opportunity to kind of put into practice what I had been wanting to do as a manager, and kind of just took that and ran with it. Then I was really fortunate. After that season, Coach Brownell had a grad assistant position open up at Wright State. So I was fortunate to transition to that after I'd graduated and get right up to Dayton. I'd never been to Dayton, Ohio, so I had a chance to get there and see what life was like in the Midwest. And I can tell you that the passion for basketball in the Midwest is at a high level, and got to see that. Obviously, that's evidenced by the first four being hosted in Dayton every year. Those fans pack it out, and they love basketball. So got to Wright State and got to be reunited there with Coach Donlin, who is now associate head coach at Wright State. Coach Donlin was a really good player at UNC Wilmington, was an assistant on Coach Brownell's staff at UNC Wilmington, so got connected with him. And I was there for 3 years. After had a lot of success. Coach Brownell led the team to 2 Horizon League championship games, winning one of them. Went to the tournament. Obviously, that was at the same time that Butler was kind of on the way up in the program. Matter of fact, last year, Wright State Butler made the national championship game against Duke in that crazy game. But from there, Coach Brownell got the Clemson job. I was really fortunate to go with him. Started as a video coordinator, just there in the video cave, grinding it out, doing a lot of edits and recruit edits, whatever needed to be done, just to help the program stay afloat technologically. was able to work with really good assistant coaches, really good staffs, who I stay in touch with today. And then from there, obviously when you have some success, we made the NIT Final Four at Clemson in 2014. Coach Earl Grant got the head coaching job at the College of Charleston. So that created some movement on the staff. I was fortunate to get elevated to director of ops at the high major level, which totally opened my eyes to a lot of different things, and just realized how much goes on behind the scenes to help make a program go. So I was really fortunate to wear that hat for 4 years. And then in 18-19, was fortunate to transition into a position that Coach had just created a few years before, Coach Brownell, the recruiting operations position. So that allowed me to really be on the front lines of recruiting, the organization with it, the planning, unofficial visits, official visits. Obviously, football is huge at Clemson, so organizing recruiting tailgates, tickets, all that kind of stuff really just allowed me to grow that way, and really prepared me extremely, extremely well to take the next step to become an assistant coach, which in the spring of 2019, I was really fortunate. Coach Donlin called me up and said, "Hey, I got the UMKC job. Would love to have you join me out here." So it was a no-brainer for me. Obviously, I've known Coach Donlin for 18 years. Excited to help him build this program into something special here in Kansas City.
Sure. That's definitely quite the journey, Coach. Obviously, while you were at Clemson, you were part of a magical Sweet 16 run in the NCAA tournament a few years back. Just kind of talk about what that run was like. And like you mentioned, obviously Clemson being known as more of a football school, just what was it like for the basketball program to be able to break through and kind of be able to reach the Sweet 16?
Yeah, for sure. We had been really knocking on the door for a while, and I give Coach Brownell a lot of credit for hanging in there and really having, we wanted to do it with high school kids, and we had two really good high school kids on the 17-18 team, Gabe DeVoe and Dante Grantham, who were, really good recruits, had just stayed with it, put in the time, and had really primed themselves for breakout years. And we kind of blended that with kind of what's become the newer model a little bit, and transfers from other universities. So we had Gabe and Dante, and we coupled that with Shelton Mitchell, who was a transfer from Vanderbilt, Marquise Reed, who's a transfer from Robert Morris from there in the DMV. Elijah Thomas was a transfer from Texas A&M. David Skara was a transfer from Valparaiso, actually from Croatia, his native country. And then we had Mark Donnell, who was a graduate transfer from Michigan, the first ever grad transfer in Clemson history, as a matter of fact. So we kind of blended that, and that was just a fun year. I'll never forget that year. We started with a foreign trip to Spain, and we actually endured a terrorist attack while we were there. We were in Barcelona when the terrorist attack happened on Las Ramblas, something I'll never forget as long as I live. But I really felt like that team was already kind of gelling really well. That kind of helped forge the bond even stronger. And when we got back to the States safely and everything, we had time to decompress and then get right back to work. But we started out really strong. I think we were 12-1 right out of the gate, 3-0 in the ACC, and everything's going okay. And then we get to January, and Dante Grantham, our starting four-man, tears his ACL against Notre Dame. So to Coach Brownell's credit, to those guys' credit, we just stayed with it and kind of found a way to reinvent ourselves mid-year, which is not always easy to do when you've been playing a certain way, as you guys know, for 20-plus games. But that team just stayed with it. They really bought into the system, really bought into caring and loving for each other. And I think that was what was so special about that year's team. We were just able to find a way. Made it to San Diego, played a really good New Mexico State team, and then played extremely well on Sunday to beat Auburn, and then got to play Kansas in the Sweet 16 here in Omaha, Nebraska. So exciting year, exciting time. It was really cool to see all that kind of blend together, and it just shows you what can happen when you got good guys working toward a common goal.
So obviously, on that team, you had a great mix of, high school talent and obviously a whole lot of transfers. There's getting ready to be a rule, voted on later on this month about whether they allow transfers to have immediate eligibility. And there's been a lot of conversations about how this is going to affect, the high school kids, and also how it's going to affect, the transfer rate in college basketball. Because obviously, as it is now, it's already through the roof high. The numbers are crazy. It's getting bigger and bigger every year. And obviously, this rule is going to make that, it's going to magnify that even more. So, for obviously a program like UMKC, where you guys are at that mid-major level, how do you think that this rule is going to affect you guys from a recruiting standpoint, obviously, and then also just from a standpoint where you could potentially be losing your best players each and every year?
Yeah, no, great question. I think it's something that we've all kind of been monitoring and want to see. Very anxious to see what the results come back with on that. I think one thing, it makes it really, really hard to build a program. I think it kind of forces you, if this were to pass, where you're kind of just having to reload every year, and you're building a team every year instead of kind of building a program, because you don't know who's going to be on the team from year A to year B. So it makes it really hard. I think at this level, obviously, it could really hurt schools in terms of, you've done your homework, maybe you've outworked somebody to get a kid, and then obviously they can, if they have a great year, they can put their name in the portal and explore other options, that type of thing. So and then also I think that there's a concern with the academics. When you're talking about transferring and guys staying on pace to graduate and whatnot, School A doesn't always take School B's credits, and vice versa. School B doesn't take School A's credits. So where does that fit into the academic model and all this? So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. At the end of the day, I think the portal has made it very interesting for things. Student athletes can put their name in the portal at times, without even talking to their coaches, which, I'm not sure that's a great thing either. I think at the end of the day, Drew, you and I were talking about it, off air a little bit, how this is such a people business. Now you're able to just put your name in without even talking to somebody. I'm not sure that's right either. But at the end of the day, I think it just shows, that the times are changing. This is a evolving deal, and these are ever changing times, especially right now with everything that's going on with the coronavirus. So we'll be interested to see how this shakes out over the next year.
Obviously, this has been a topic that's been up for great debate amongst college coaches. And we talked to a college coach probably like a week or two ago who said that if this rule gets passed, he said that mid-major and low-major basketball is over, because essentially that, basically the high majors are just going to be recruiting from the mid-majors and taking their best players, and it kind of leaves the low-major and mid-major teams at disadvantage. Do you think that that's a feasible opinion, or do you think it won't really be, that big of a deal?
I think it's hard to say it'll be over, because I think at the end of the day, there's always going to be that George Mason or Loyola or Kent State that people are going to, aspire to be. And I think, we've seen more of those happen here in recent years than maybe ever. Now, so, and by and large, that's been because those teams have been made up of older developmental players, 4-year guys, 5-year guys, maybe if they redshirt or not. So, it's going to be harder to get to that. I do think, having been at this level for a year now, and by no means am I an expert, but having been out on the road this year for the first time and seeing it, it is amazing to see that there are a lot of players out there. Just got to go and find them. And there are a lot of players that can play Division I. Now, whether that's a whole other thing, and whether they fit your program or your boss and all that, it's a whole different discussion. But there are guys out there that can play. Just got to kind of do your homework and go and find them, turn over rocks, whatever you got to do, go overseas. I was really fortunate. I went to Australia this year for a couple of days to see some guys. So it's there are guys out there. I think there's just going to be a situation where you just got to, maybe your list is normally through the years, your recruiting list shrinks. Maybe through the year, it's got to stay the same, just because you never know. You got to prepare if guys are going to leave and stuff like that.
Yep. Switching gears a little bit, we're in a time period right now that's extremely unprecedented. We've never really seen anything like the coronavirus. Pretty much put a stop on everything in the world right now. Obviously, in the sports world, it's no different. Obviously, schools in the spring were canceled. The spring recruiting period has already been canceled. The summer, live period is up in the air. We don't know that that's going to be able to take place or not. So, how has this kind of affected you guys' program at UMKC?
Sure. Great question. First of all, really hate it for all the seniors around the country that didn't get a chance to play in their conference tournament, mainly at the mid-major level, just because you never know what could happen. Neutral floor, anything can happen in over a course of a 40-minute game. So hate that. I'll never forget where I was when we got the news. We were actually getting ready to play that day in our conference tournament, first round, and we'd all come down for a pregame meal, and Twitter just kind of went crazy with the news. And mind immediately went to the seniors. Felt bad for them. Those guys had really put a lot of time in and just weren't going to get the opportunity to play. And they were ones of hundreds around the country that were in the same boat. So it's brutal. It's brutal that way. I think too. I think one of the things we take a lot of pride in UMKC, and Coach Donlin does an unbelievable job with player development, and we've missed all that time right now. I'm not sure what the summer looks like just yet, but we've missed that time in the spring where guys can really have a chance to help take their games to new levels. You guys have been in it for a while, and you've seen that jump that you make from your sophomore to your junior year is critical. That jump you make from your freshman to your sophomore year is critical. So not have that, guys have kind of been left to their own devices in terms of conditioning and finding a gym. If you can find a gym in your area, or going to a park outside, going back to the old camp ball, doing ball handling and all that kind of stuff in the driveway or on the street. So it's been different that way. I think Coach Donlin's done an unbelievable job and encouraged us to do so as a staff, just making sure we're reaching our guys, FaceTiming them, Zooming with them. We've actually done a neat thing where we've FaceTime with, Zoomed with the incoming guys, the freshmen, just trying to make them feel a part of it and go ahead and make them feel like part of the program. So I think that's important. But again, at the end of the day, this is a people deal. This is a people business where you're trying to grow people and help them grow as men and grow their games. And it's hard to do that when you don't have that face-to-face interaction every day.
Currently with the coronavirus, we're in a kind of a time period where, some states are starting to open back up, and there are things that are kind of starting to move in the right direction towards, maybe there being basketball and workouts in the summertime and in the fall going forward. What does that look like for you guys at UMKC? Is there, have you heard anything about, you guys being able to get in the gym anytime soon and get things started?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, Kansas City did kind of open back up as a city last Friday, May 15th. And it's just something that we're evaluating really closely right now. Obviously, for all of us around the country, I think safety and health are at the forefront of everyone's priorities. So we're just trying to see what a phased back-end plan could look like over the next few weeks. I don't exactly have the exact details on that right now, but I know there's a lot of people working hard across our campus to help figure out a plan that's feasible for everybody.
So, there have been a lot of schools that have said, maybe we're not going to open back up. I've heard the Ivy League said, they don't want to have people on campus for the fall semester. Then you got schools like the president at Northeastern, every day I saw on CNN, was saying they plan to open up, business as usual in the fall, obviously with certain safety measures in place to protect student welfare. There have been speculation that the season, might not start on time. I guess in your for your specific conference or your specific university, have you guys talked to the president, or have you guys heard anything from the president about what this fall semester could look like at UMKC, or what the basketball situation might look like this, at UMKC?
Yeah, great question. Our chancellor has been very proactive about reaching out to us as employees and making sure everybody's good and as comfortable as you can possibly be right now in these uncertain times. So, as of now, May 18th, we're planning on coming back in the fall for us. I don't know it'll be exactly normal, because I don't think everything's going to be as normal as we were all used to it being, before this all hit in March, but for as normal as it can be semester in the fall. So we're just, like everybody else, we're probably just taking it day by day to see what, has in store. Obviously there's new information from the experts that's coming out, every day. So we're just trying to look at trends and see how we can best protect ourselves and keep everybody as healthy, as safe, as long as we can.
So, I mean, for you, obviously, being a coach and, working with kids, you kind of develop a relationship, with these players, and, you guys kind of become a family and everything. How do you feel about like the kind of internal battle that you got, that everybody's facing right now, whether it's like, all right, I want my kids and my program to, to be safe, and we don't want to put anybody at risk, but then at the same time, we're all basketball players and coaches, and we want to get back to playing the game that we love, how do you kind of balance, going forward and like just weighing those two things? Like, on one hand, we want to get the ball rolling, we want to start preparing for the season next year, but at the same time, you have people, real lives at stake here. Like, how do you kind of balance that as a basketball coach? That at the end of the day, your job is to win games and put the best product on the floor.
Yeah, no question. No, it's I think we've just tried to be as cautious as possible. I think one thing, and Coach Dolan has been great about encouraging our guys, and as a staff, we've tried to do the same. Like, hey, you just got to stay in the best physical condition you possibly can right now. Running, sprints, push-ups, sit-ups. Our strength coach has been good about getting the guys body weight workouts to do on their own time. And obviously they have to do all this stuff all their own. It's all, it's all voluntary. But at the end of the day, if we start to phase back in, and as a player you haven't been doing what you needed to be doing during this time, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard for you. So that's why you really got to take care of yourself. You got to condition. I think sleep is probably an underrated thing right now. Guys really need to be getting their sleep, 7 to 9 hours a night consistently, not staying up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning on video games or Snapchat or whatever may have you. And just take care of yourself. Drink a lot of water. Stay hydrated. The weather's about to turn. We're all about to get into warmer weather here as we go from May to June. So just making sure you're staying on top of it, but at the same time, not remember that at the end of the day, we're playing basketball too. We're coaching basketball. So don't lose that, do stuff to help your mind. I know we've all just watched The Last Dance for the last 5 weeks, study Michael Jordan, study what that's about, watch our games. Our guys have access to film, and they can watch film on their own and study their stuff. Obviously, as coaches, we've been doing the same to try to get better for next season. We're kind of in a unique position. We're leaving the Western Athletic Conference, the WAC, and transitioning to the Summit League next year. So completely new league. So it'll be, all new league, all new preps, new travel situation for everybody. So that'll be a new experience. But again, we'll trust the advice of the experts when they say it's safe to come back or start to begin phased coming back. That, obviously that's what we'll do, and we'll do it to their standards. No question.
Now, my last question for you would be, obviously you're a North Carolina guy, and you mentioned The Last Dance, so
yeah.
What was that like, just obviously we're at the end of the 10-part series now. What was that like looking back, watching the greatest player to ever come out of North Carolina, in my opinion, the best player to ever play basketball,
Sure.
What was it like, reliving that documentary?
No, it was great. Obviously, growing up as, I was 9 years old when the Bulls won their first three-peat in '93. And I'll never forget, back then, NBA Entertainment used to do like a championship video, on the old VHS. And I think I ordered the three-peat, and I think I wore that thing out. I watched it so many times, just talking about and chronicling their journey of that 92-93 season. So, and obviously, Michael Jordan, being a North Carolina guy from Wilmington, played at UNC. He's certainly revered and talked about in highest regard, as he should be. He's certainly worked and earned for everything he's attained, and it's really cool now to see him back in pro sports with the Hornets. I know he's working to build that franchise into something special. And but no, just the thing that stuck out to me, and at the end of the day, these documentaries, it's neat how they tell the story, but just how he, as a competitor, he really brought it every single day, and then he made sure everybody else brought it every single day too. And that was from the coaches to the players. What stuck out to me is that, this is how badly he wanted to win. Obviously, Rodman takes his sabbatical or whatever, during the season. He flies to Vegas himself to get Rodman out of the hotel. All right, time to get back to work, Dennis. You know, you've had your fun. So just shows you how committed he was and how nobody was going to break him of what he was really going to try to get after. And that was obviously the trophy, championship trophy.
Last question for you, Coach, man. So we really appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on with us today. Really appreciate it, and on behalf of my brother and myself, we wish you guys the best of luck at UMKC going forward.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me on. Really cool thing you guys are doing with this, and thanks for letting me be a part of it.
No problem.